one time I got pulled over in D.C. leaving work, and I actually left work late because I was, especially early management years, I just worked late, especially on Fridays because everybody would go out, hang out, and then I had the office and the facility to myself to kind of get a jump on the next week. And I stopped on my way home, and I got some chicken wings. I was going to do a take home, but it was taking a couple minutes, and I was sitting at the bar, and they said, "Yeah, you want a drink?" I said, "Yeah, you know what? I'll drink a beer real quick." And I wound up having literally one beer, and then I started to drive, and I got pulled over, and he said, "Yeah, a lot of people, leaving the city, partying, you guys make sure." So we go through these breathalyzer, all these sobriety checkpoint things, and I did it 3 times. 3 times I passed. And he still wound up detaining me, and he drove me 8 exits north on the BW Parkway, and it just dropped me off at a random gas station that was out of business and said, "Good luck." And he said, "Don't move your car or I'll come arrest you." And I'm thinking, well, what law did I violate? And at the time, I was dating a woman actually that was a federal agent, but she just did tech crimes. But nonetheless, she had a badge and she had a gun, and she knew the base of the law. So I called her as this was going down. I said, "How am I being detained?" So long story short, the officer, when he drove me all the way up, he said, all that legal stuff, yes, that's great. So the bottom line, legally, I can detain anybody for 24 hours at my discretion if I think there's a threat. So all that to say is lessons learned and common experiences, and it was that situation where I learned that I have to try to communicate differently, and part of that communication was I have to take my emotions out of the encounters, because that's what's going to lead to a bigger situation, because unfortunately in a lot of cases that's what they're kind of looking for.
I know this is probably for another conversation, but this is a major piece that I think needs to be discussed. And it's interesting because some of the experiences we had as a family seems to have followed itself through history. Years ago, we were kids, and my grandfather and grandmother on my mother's side initially had 15 children. So there's just a lot of us. There were, at least before, death and all that. So we were taking a family trip to the beach, and there could have been like maybe 15 carloads of us lined up going to the beach. And I think looking back, and I thought then, even because there were so many of us passing through at one time, it drew the attention of the police. And so the cops pulled all the cars over and locked up all the male drivers. And so here we were, and mothers with babies.
And what does that sound like
sitting
historically?
on the side of the road, and all this drama going on. And I remember even later when they all had to show back up, go back to to court, to magistrate or whatever. So these kinds of experiences, though they may seem, I think they're significant when you look at the progressive pattern and how it has followed itself across generations and time.
Agreed. Because most of us, honestly, and I'm sure it's for generations before, suppress them. We kind of push them down and put them way back because they're painful. They're painful memories, and nobody wants to.
And if you did act out on them at that time in history, you would have no future generations.
Correct.
That's right. And it still happens today. If you, like we're telling our kids, the police stop you, put your hands up on the wheels, and don't argue back with them, and so forth and so on, because that's what they're looking for, giving some excuse to arrest them, to shoot them, or whatever. Mm-hmm.